So, former President Trump continues on the campaign trail tonight, and he will address members of the firebrand group Moms for Liberty. But while he is rallying one part of his base, he's raising questions with another as he shifts back and forth on the question of abortion. So after saying Thursday that Florida's ban on abortions after the 6-week was, quote, too short, the former president said in an interview today that he will actually vote against the measure and preserve the 6-week ban. It's a little complicated. The flip-flop came after blowback from prominent pro-lifers such as Lila Rose, who called Trump's Thursday comments a betrayal, saying, quote, "It is wrong for Trump supporters to demand that pro-life activists be endlessly loyal to Trump in response to repeated betrayal." Joining us now is Georgia Republican Congressman Rich McCormick. Congressman, welcome. You've described yourself as a pro-life doctor. What do you understand your party's nominee's current position to be this evening? Where do you understand Donald Trump to be on the question of a 6-week abortion ban?
Well, he's brought this up several times in different ways. My understanding, though, is Roe v. Wade gives responsibility back to the states. I think that's where it needs to remain as a ER doctor who is pro-life. I also understand if you make this a federal issue, every time the federal government flips on whether Democrats or Republicans control, you'll have a flip on the abortion issue. I don't think the country wants that. We don't need that. We need to have representative government at its best level, which is local. Local politics is always a better way to control your destiny. It's much more consistent. It's much more representative, and I think that's where it needs to stay. And I think Donald Trump would agree with that.
But you can hear the frustration that pro-life activists have about a candidate who is vacillating on this question, right? That you understand why those folks are frustrated when they hear the flip-flops from Donald Trump on this, right?
Sure, and I understand, but they want to hear one message and only one message. And I think sometimes the message gets convoluted when you talk about 6-week ban, 12-week ban, no exceptions. By the way, I want to always point out, there is no such thing as no exceptions, not in any state. There's always exceptions. As an ER doctor, I can tell you there's plenty of times where women come in, they're pregnant, they have an ectopic pregnancy or something else that's going to kill them. You cannot keep a baby alive if the mother dies. It's a false narrative generated by the Democrats to make people scared that we're trying to take away all exceptions. That does not exist. There's no exception to when a mother is going to die and we're going to keep the baby. It makes no sense, and it's a lie. I think where we get the discussion between Trump and these people who believe that there should be no sense of abortion whatsoever, no sense of compromise on the abortion issue is because the minutia kind of gets confusing when Trump is talking about it.
I know, but I just mean on messaging and the consistency, the constancy here, the going back and forth, not necessarily on the exceptions versus not exceptions or federal versus state, but on something like this. Do you support Florida's ban or not support Florida's ban? That's my only point, is that the messaging seems to would understandably cause some anxiety among people who are ardent pro-lifers.
Yeah, I get it. And I know that any pro-lifer who's really made that their single item voting issue wants to hear only one thing, and that's the only thing they'll accept. And anybody who diverges from that will be under scrutiny for sure.
Okay. Kamala Harris beats Donald Trump in every swing state except for one among women, among female voters. If we understand his initial opposition to Florida's ban, his outreach perhaps to those voters. One place where Trump is very much looking to make up some ground there is on the question of in vitro fertilization. And on that point, the former president says that it's time for the federal government to either pay for or mandate that insurance companies pay for in vitro fertilization treatments for all Americans who want them. Should the government be paying for this?
Well, if you're asking my opinion, no. I think this is an elective procedure, and I believe that elected procedures have no business to do with the government. Just like I don't want the government paying for abortions, I don't want them paying for pregnancies, and pregnancies that have procedures, very expensive procedures associated with them. Likewise, I think this is where we get confused as a government when we start doing mandates, when we say insurance companies should be paying for it. Well, who do you think pays for those insurance premium increases? The consumer. That means everybody else has to pay for that one person that wants to get pregnant. Now, I understand it's a big deal. I understand people want to get pregnant. I understand it's important. But I don't think the government ever had that constitutional responsibility or that authority to get involved in this sort of debate.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.